Hey dolls, hello. Welcome back to another Thriving Thursday with Delle. If you're catching the replay, we're going to get started around the 3 to 4 minute mark just to give YouTube a chance to send this out because you already know the delays are no joke. But in the meantime, if you want to listen to the announcements and all that, you can definitely stick around. And for those of you joining live, please don't forget, and those on the replay too, don't forget to like this video so YouTube knows that you enjoy this content and they can send it out. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content and like and share and all of the stuff. Every little bit of engagement matters. Also, feel free to check the description box for all of the information for tonight's speaker. Of course, you know, the newsletter that I send out on the 1st and 15th of every month. Tomorrow, obviously, would be the next one. If you are an aspiring or novice creative entrepreneur, maybe you just started or you're wanting to start or whatever the case may be, but you basically want to like start a business from your creative juices, you know, your talents, your passions, you know, your gifts, and you don't know how to make it cohesive, then look down below and book a creative consultation call. You might see it says business mentorship call. It's the same thing. Go ahead and book that. It'll give you a chance to get some quick guidance and advice from me that you can actually put into action and start seeing some fruits in your labor. So make sure you're checking the description box when you watch my videos. All the goodies are always there every single time. You don't want to miss out on anything I post. Hey, Michelle. Yes, it's the ad watching for me. Hey, Yasmin. Loyal. Let me go ahead and type my intro so people know. And pretty soon here, y'all, I'm thinking of upgrading StreamYard so I could get like an ad stream going. So before it even starts, kind of like how Obedience Podcast does, because they're fancy over there. So I'm thinking about doing the same thing, but we're going to see. We're going to see. Don't forget to hit like and share as well. We'll get started in another 2 minutes. All right, got that going. So we're just going to wait for more people to come in, another minute and a half just about. And tonight is going to be very good. I'm excited. Every week has been very good. I'm actually a little sad that this series is ending, but it's not the last that you're going to see these ladies on my channel. I'm definitely going to have each one of them back. So I'm excited. Hey, Tara, I'm glad you could make it tonight, sis. Don't forget to share this out, invite a sister friend. Tonight is going to be a summation of like so many different things. So I'm very excited to get into it. In another 40 seconds or so, we're going to get started. So like I said, make sure you check the description box to see how you can support the speaker. And of course, all my stuff is always there. Make sure you check that out. Send me emails if you need it. Whatever you need is in the description box. And don't forget to subscribe if you've been watching the videos for a while. And, you know, you keep coming back to my channel and you're not subscribed, join the family. Like, we are a family here. So I would love to have you join and be a part of everything that I am doing and opportunities that I'm creating and all of that good stuff. So feel free to share where you're watching from too. And we are about to get started in just a few seconds. Make sure my phone is on silent too, because people always want to call you when you're on live. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, tonight we have our last guest speaker for the Sharing Her Story series that I decided to do for Women's History Month. So just to give you some background, hey, Layla, I'm glad that you're here, sis. To give you some background, just in case this might be your first week watching, the first Thursday of this month, I had Edie Marie High of Eats with Edie, formerly Eat Deliciously. We talked about burnout as an entrepreneur and the realities of going viral, because a lot of people want to get those high numbers. They want to go viral. They want to get the blue check, but they don't understand all the other stuff and the realities behind it. So that was very good. The second Thursday of this month, I had my sis Glory from Glory's Blogs on here. Big shout out to my supporters in the UK. You guys are always showing a ton of love. And we talked about the issue with modest fashion and everything surrounding that. You know, women particularly in the church and all of that good stuff. So that was a really good discussion. Last Thursday night, I had my sister MARSHA McClendon of C Conversations talk about intentional motherhood, and that was real. Like, she snatched all of our edges as moms and aspiring moms or moms to be. Like, she came with the heat and she dropped some gems. So make sure you go back and watch that. And in the description box of all of these videos are their information, so you can go and support them. Like, actually go and support what they're doing. All these women are doing amazing things. And tonight we have Kadi of Spiritually Faithful on Instagram, but on YouTube, Kadipop Secretz. So make sure you go and subscribe to her channel. All of her stuff is linked in the description box. And she has a women's faith like encouragement page on Instagram, and she's just doing amazing things. And she's in Canada, so big shout out to my Canadian supporters too. I really have a lot of supporters between the UK and Canada, so I love all of you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring her into the stream. You guys show her a nice big welcome. Be nice, okay? Be warm like we always are, but give her a big round of applause.
Hi.
Hey, Katie. Hey, sis. I'm
Hi,
glad
everyone.
to have you here. Yes, I'm glad to have you here. We are super excited. If you're in Canada watching this, big ups, shout out.
Big up Canada.
Canada is like my second home. Before my grandfather passed, we used to go there every year and visit him in like the Markham area. I think he lived in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used
I
to
feel
go
like
there.
people forget us.
I know. Canada's lit. Like, y'all sleep on Canada. We always have a good time up there. But welcome to the live stream. So I'm glad to have you here tonight because you have really touched on a few different topics on your pages and your brands that I was like, okay, we got to just talk about all these different things. And I really wanted to talk about being that girl because it's such a popular topic today. But I want to talk about it from the internal because not all, but a lot of the stuff that I see talks about being that girl and achieving a certain life based on external things. But I feel like, and you probably agree, I would think, is that we got to get the inside right first. So we're going to dive into that. But before we dive in, we have to play an icebreaker. So we're going to play this or that. I have 10 questions and just tell me which one you prefer. And you guys can play in the comments too, like you have been. So the first one is, do you prefer a dress or a skirt?
A dress.
Same. It's so easy, right?
I know. one piece, you're good to go.
Exactly. Coffee or tea?
Caribbean people, peppermint tea, a ginger tea. So
yeah. Same. I love peppermint tea. That's my favorite. So Easter or Christmas?
Oh man, Easter is so significant, but I love the vibe of Christmas. It's just, I feel like everybody's in such like just a beautiful mood. So I really love Christmas.
Same. I was about to say the same thing. It's hard, but it's the Christmas carols for me too. Like,
you're right. Don't let me bust a tune right now, okay?
So solo trip or group trip?
I would say it's nice for both, but I would say it depends on the season that you're in for your life. I would say that, yeah.
That's good. That's a good answer. Yeah, I think when I was younger, like 10 years ago, group trip all day. Now I'm like, I want to book a hotel by myself. Like,
right? A spa day alone, just laying there. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, next one, Sierra Mist or Sprite?
Sprite.
Yes. We here. Like, most people and I'd be opposite, but I'm like, yes, we're on the same page. You can't beat it. I love like the strength of it,
Right?
Next one, electric slide or the wobble?
Okay, so I think I'm a dancer, but I'm not a dancer. I would say wobble. I think it's more fun,
Yes, I get down to the wobble. I love the wobble. So next one, Michael Jackson or Prince?
I would say Michael Jackson, like true icon. You can't,
Absolutely. Like I might like a few Prince songs, maybe 5, but I can't say I'm a huge fan. So
yeah, I think if you were to ask me like Michael Jackson songs, I could tell you stuff. And for Prince, I'd be like, I think I know, but so yeah, Michael.
Exactly. Next one, glamping or camping?
Neither. But I think glamping, because that's what, like, the more glamorized version of camping.
Yes.
I'm all for adventure. So I'm someone that likes to try anything, so I'll try anything. So
Got you.
I'm down for whatever.
Glamp me. I don't want to camp. Like,
You
I mean, you already know the vibes. Like, I need a nice bed. I need a shower. I need all of that. So if someone could pay for you to get one of these done for the rest of your life, which one would you have them pay for? Getting your hair done or your nails done?
Girl, hair.
Yes, I was like, save those coins. You know?
It's not even a question. Come on now.
I could always put on some press-ons if I
Exactly.
Definitely the hair. So last question, museum date or festival date?
I would say festival. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one we're opposite on because I'm a museum girl. Yeah. Okay. All of my first dates have been museums. Like
I like to eat, so if there's food there, you know, I'm down for the grub. So
I'm not mad, sis. I'm not mad at all. But festivals are fun. I like food truck festivals. So
oh yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hop right into the questions. If y'all were answering in the comments, my bad. StreamYard is lagging a little bit tonight, but feel free to still engage because I love the conversation. So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the topic, who is Kadi? Like, introduce yourself to us. Where are you from? Like, how did you get into what you're doing? All of that good stuff.
So as you know, I'm from Canada. I'm just basically a girl, a woman that's really just trying to walk out my purpose. And I feel like with life, I've learned a lot of things, and I'm at that tender age in my 30s. I won't say where, but I'm up in there where I wish I knew the things that I knew now. And I think I did Spiritually Faithful just to try to encourage women to really walk out your purpose, to not neglect yourself, and to really just kind of step out of fear and step out of doubt, right? So that's mainly why I started that page. And I'm really just in a point in my life where I just really want to pursue what it was that God created me to do, because I feel like we were all sent here for a purpose and a reason, and don't neglect to figure it out and to fully walk in that. So yeah,
I love it. I absolutely loved when you created that page, because it's just like sometimes you just need that dose of inspiration real quick to just get you going. And so I absolutely love it. And so basically, I want to dive into more of like the topic for tonight now. So lately there's been a lot of talk about being that girl. So being that girl is like the PG version of being that, you know? Yeah. So how would you personally define being that girl? Like, what is that girl and what does she embody?
That girl is you and whoever it is that you are, right? Just walk boldly in your own lane. I don't know. I think sometimes like we tend to just look at the world and we tend to look at what we see as like an ideal of who you should be, but the ideal of who you should be is you. And that's just stuff that I've learned over the years, because I was not the person that I am today. Like, this is growth and I'm still growing, but just embrace who you are, embrace the things that are not so great, the things that are so great, and walk in that and become that girl for yourself, right? And impact people based on who you are and what you have to offer to the world, right? So that's how I look at it. I'm not at the stage anymore where I look at people to find my identity. My identity is in Christ, and my identity is who he created me to be. And I'm just trying to figure out what he wants me to do with this body, this physical presence while I'm here, right? So I think that's what it is.
That's really good. Like, I know before I turned 30, a lot of people were like, yeah, when you hit your 30s, it's like you have this newfound confidence and assurance. And I was like, okay, like, I wasn't scared to turn 30, but I was like, okay, we'll see. And I can say that so far it's been pretty true. Like, I just have this whole new, like, unapologetic side and air where it's like, I love me. You don't have to love me, but God loves me. I'm good. You know, like,
you have to spend time with yourself, so you got to love yourself, right?
Exactly.
So just focus on building who you are and walking in what God has created you to do. And if you don't know what that is, seek it out. I think for me, a couple of years ago, that was one of my things. I'm like, well, who am I? Like, what am I doing? And I literally like prayed and I was like, God, like, show me what it is that you want me to do. Show me where I'm supposed to go. Like, lead me. What did you create me for? Be careful, because you might not like the answer. And I think that's a lot of the times we don't like the answer that we hear. We tend to neglect that. But if you ask, he will genuinely show you that. Just be prepared that it might not be exactly what you think it's going to be. So be prepared for that.
Yeah, that's a word right there. Because I had prayed some prayers. I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that. It's looking pretty real out here, you know?
Right? What kind of year? Like, what did I open up right now? I didn't hear that.
Okay, period. So before we can have the life that we desire outwardly, like I had said earlier, we have to work on the internal, I thoroughly believe, because you can have all the material things and you can have the outward life and still be miserable. I mean, that's why we see a lot of celebrities go through depression and anxiety, and, you know, a lot of them, unfortunately, you know, decide to end it all. And it's a lot. So being with that thought in mind, you have spoken on confidence on your platforms before. So what does a healthy sense of confidence look like to you?
For me, I can honestly say that I lacked a lot of confidence in my younger days. And I think that if you really think about it, it stems from somewhere, right? That lack of confidence. So for me, I had to figure out what was it, and I kind of knew what it was. For me, I grew up in a single parent household. So for me, I didn't have the father figure in my home. So for me, I think that's where that stemmed from. So over the years, I really just tried to delve deeper into that as to like why, you know, and really just tried to figure out why I was the way I was. And I genuinely do think that it stemmed from that. So what I would tell people is really, there's always a source, there's always a reason. So you got to just stop and pause and ask yourself, like, why am I lacking that sense of like, you know, that confidence? And for me, I had to dig deep and I had to really look at some things and explore some things that weren't the prettiest things to explore. But I would say that through that, I realized that at the end of the day, your confidence isn't based on like your situation. It's based on your source, which is God, right? So I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to look at my situation. I'm just going to look at who God says that I am, you know, and who he created me to be, and really pull from that. And that's pretty much what I did. And I would tell people too, it's just like, you have to do things to build yourself. If you need to go take a course, go back to school, you know, join, if you feel fitness wise, you need to join the gym. If you need to go do your hair, like whatever it is, like, I don't think that there's anything. People might say, well, those things are so vain. No, it's not vain, because if it makes you feel better for you, then why not do that, right? So
Exactly.
So I would say, yeah, like do the things that are going to help to build you. Go get your eyebrows done if you need your eyebrows done to make you feel a little bit, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people think, like I said, people think, well, that's so materialistic, but it isn't. If you look at yourself and you feel good, then you exude what, you know what I mean? What it is that you're feeling, right? And like I say, you have to look at the source of what it is internally that's causing you to feel like that. And for me, I could say that it was issues in regards to like my dad, and I really had to kind of go deep into that. And yeah, I would say just look at where it's stemming from and work from there.
Yeah, I definitely feel you as far as looking back at the source, because I know I've shared this on multiple platforms when I was speaking, but I know I struggle with confidence, especially in my teenage years. I think we all go through it in our teenage years, because it's just a hot mess. Honestly, you're going through the hormonal changes and all of that. It's a lot. But that into my early 20s, basically until I met my ex-fiance, I really struggled with confidence and feeling like I just across the board, feeling like I was capable, feeling like I was beautiful, feeling like I was good enough, smart enough, whatever. And when I look back, it really stemmed from peer pressure, and also being rejected when I was in middle school, because I did go to a predominantly white middle school. And by the time I hit 7th grade, I was the only Black girl in the school. So I dealt with the racism side, but then when I got to high school, I dealt with all the other stuff that comes from, like, you know, men pitting girls against each other, and this one's got the pretty girl privilege thing going on, and this one, and the colorism and all these different things. And so a lot of my best friends were gorgeous women. They still are. Even if we don't talk anymore, I could admit they're gorgeous, you know? And so I was always in the middle of them being desired, and I was always overlooked and always considered to be like the homegirl, smart about her business, but the homegirl. And so because of that, I would do a lot of things out of character to get accepted and to get that, like, oh yeah, you're beautiful, or I want to be with you, whatever. And all it ended up being was me being used and then disposed of. And so that led to confidence issues. And I really had to get to a point where and I'm still working on this. I'm not like arrived yet, but I've come a far way, and I had to get to a point, like you said, where I just understand who God says I am, challenging the way I view myself. Why do I feel this way? And not looking to other people to be the standard. So that's really important. That's really good that you said that. So if y'all are liking this, don't forget to like the video, please. Like, subscribe, share. So what are some ways that women can build their confidence, you would say?
Yeah, I would say, again, like looking at what the source is and maybe tackling that issue directly, like the source of why you're lacking in that area. And like I said, just, sometimes you need to do the things that are going to help you to propel. Like if you maybe take a course on like, speaking or engaging or joining like a community, like a women's group or whatever it is that's going to help you to engage, to gain that, especially when it comes to support. I find if you're in a community of like women, strong women that are there to support you, that helps in terms of your confidence also. So go out and seek those things, go out and get into a church community or just whatever it is that's going to help you to kind of step out of yourself and, engage with others to build that up. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Strong community goes a long way. Like that really does.
Exactly.
Yeah, guys, I can say this month I saw the benefit of that, because that's another thing I've been very transparent about, is like trying to still find community since I've been down here.
Yeah.
It's been rough. And this month I got a taste of it. Now we'll see how long the friendships and stuff last, but I'm hopeful. So community goes a very long way.
Yeah, and for me, like I'm an introvert, right? I'm not very out there, but I found lately, like I've really just been trying to step outside of my comfort zone, and I think that's something that everyone needs to do. I used to think that, I guess I used to use the excuse that I'm an introvert, so I don't really need to speak, I don't really need to engage, but at the end of the day, that's me speaking it over myself, right? And it's like, no, you need to like go out there, you need to meet people, to have community. You don't have to be that person that's out there and whatever, but it's good to engage and it's good to step outside of your comfort zone, and just there's a lot of amazing things outside of your comfort zone. And that's something that I've learned, because I've always been that person that's like, not really, but stepping outside, I'm like, wow, it's a different world. So step outside of your comfort zone and try new things and see what that world brings you, right? So
that's so crazy that you say that, because this month, you might have seen the pictures in the reels, but my friend Alicia, I don't know if she's going to jump in here tonight or not, but she invited me to this women's entrepreneurship mixer that was happening for the last 3 Mondays of March.
Yeah.
And when she first invited me, I was like, but she kept inviting me to so many events. So I was just like, I don't want to be that friend that's always like, oh, I got something to do. Oh, Christian got this. Oh, like, for her to be like, do you want to hang with me or not? Like, so I was like, let me just accept it so I don't look shady. And when I went, I had a blast. Like I was looking forward to every week, and I made so many connections. And now it's like, I'm telling her, I'm like, where are we going next? Right. It's just like, I had to step out of that comfort zone though. And it's crazy because I used to be a social butterfly. And then after COVID, it's like, COVID and relocating, because they happened so back to back, it just like changed me. And so I almost became like a recluse, and then dealing with just like some nasty people situations and stuff. I just kind of got to this place where I was like, I don't want to be around people. I'm just going to bury myself in my work. But stepping outside of that, I was like, this is great. Like talking to people and just, being able to be myself. I wasn't necessarily like you said, the one that was floating around the room talking to every single person, but I made the connections that were meant to be had.
Exactly. That one little step that you think is like, it could be a life-changing step, right? So step outside, do something a little bit different than you're used to, and see where that takes you.
Exactly. It makes such a difference. So Tara said, I love this. I used to think that confidence was in looks and outer appearance, but it's in Christ, your skills and all things. Exactly. That's so true, sis. Hello, Dynasty Tribe. I haven't seen in a while, sis. I'm glad that you joined. So next question. Self-doubt is something that many women struggle with. Some forms of this, honestly, I believe, it manifests itself as imposter syndrome and things like that. So have you ever struggled with self-doubt, and how did you overcome it?
Oh God, that's every day. It's literally a battlefield every single day, right? I'm going to specifically talk about two things, but I think it's something that your mind consistently has to like, no, I'm going to overcome it. Nope, not today. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, I don't think it's something that ever stops. It's a continuous like day to day, like, nope, I'm not letting that overpower me today. Like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm stepping on fear. Nope, I'm not going to have doubt. Like, I know this to be true and whatever. But I would say that there's two situations. I would say initially when I started Spiritually Faithful, I was like, well, am I qualified to be out here talking about God and Jesus and whatever the case might be? But then I was like, wait a second, like the disciples, if you look at many of them, they weren't people of the background that you would think that he would have chosen for them to be disciples, right? And no one can tell you what your relationship with Christ is, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what, I'm going to trust in God. This is the word that I felt that I got from him being in my relationship with him. So I'm going to take that step. But that was one of the things that I was just like, I don't know if I have the confidence. I don't know, like, if I should be doing it, if I'm qualified to be doing it. Because you look at other people and you're like, oh, look at them, you know, they have this, this, and this. But I'm like, no, I know what I was told because I know my relationship with God. And I know what I'm doing when I'm in my room praying and talking and worshiping with him. So that's what matters, right? I would say a second big thing was for me was when I actually decided to step away from my 10-year relationship. And I'm never going to say anything bad about this individual because he's a great person. Sometimes people just do not the right things, you know? Yeah, right? If that makes sense. There's no hate there, like, you know, but again, that was like the hardest thing for me because I doubted myself. When I decided to walk away from that, I was literally, I think I was at I think I was in my like the beginning stages of my 30s. And I had all these doubts and all these fears because in my hearts of hearts, I knew that it was something that God was telling me to walk away from a long time ago. And I chose to ignore that. And finally, when I decided to do it, I still had my doubts and my fears because I was like, well, I'm like in my 30s, I have no kids. The world is telling me, you know, the world tells women, like when you get to a certain age, it's like downhill, you know, like you're not going to find anybody, blah, blah, blah. And all of those things kind of like the fears of all of that, you know, like I'm like, okay, well, I know it doesn't feel right, but I'm comfortable. At least I know what I'm kind of getting, you know, rather than going back out into the world and like doing this all over again. And I am in my 30s. I'm like, if this man took 10 years and he didn't even try to ask me to marry him, like I'm gonna have to go back and do this for, you know, like another 10 years. So just all of like, just these doubts and these fears just really crept up in regards to me making that move. And then I literally had to stop myself and I'm like, no, I prayed about this. I got a word from God and he said that you need to move, even though I cried on the floor, rolled around. Because come on, let's be real, like 10 years. I was like, I literally asked God to show me. I was like, God, you need to show me if this is what you need me to be in or if you need me to move away from this. And he was like, you need to walk away from this. And I was like, that's not really the answer I was expecting. I mean, I just spent like 10 years here. I mean, consider this, maybe change him, like, you know? So that wasn't what happened. So, you know, I decided to walk away from it. I got the word from God and it was like, you need to move away. And I literally, when I tell you, I cried, I broke down, I went through so many different feelings. Like it was a roller coaster ride for what I did a video, I cried for a year. Like I literally cried for a year, right? With that whole scenario and that whole situation. But I remember the thing that literally kept me was that God said, you need to walk away from it. And if God tells you to do something, that means there's something greater on the opposite side of it, right? So I literally just held on to that word and held on to the promise that God's going to carry me. He's going to take me. If he said to move, then that means I have to move and there's something better on the other side. And literally, I can say like 2-3 years now, I'm engaged to somebody else. So, you know what I mean? So if God tells you to do something, do it because there's something greater and better on the opposite side of whatever it is that you're doubting. You know what I mean? Like you're doubting.
Yeah.
So
that's so good. Like you said, so many gems just right there. And it's like about the dating part before I address the other part, it's like a lot of us as women, we don't want to let go of what we invested in. So 10 years is a long time. Like, I know for me, I probably would have been like, God, I heard you, but I'm going to stay right here. Like, I'm going to stick beside him, you know? But it's just like you have to learn to relinquish. And I know, and it's like you never really have peace about those type of situations, because I know there are a couple guys that I've dated even since I've been down here where I knew in my gut, like, this ain't it. But because sometimes from the outside looking in on paper, they look good. And so it's like, okay, he's not a low life or anything, but I don't have peace about it. And in other cases, he was just downright raggedy. Like, he just was I shouldn't be paying attention to at all. But, you know, desperation, vulnerability, all that good stuff. And when I let go of those things, God always showed me there was something better on the other side. So not engaged yet. We working on that. But
girl, it's happening. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm claiming it. But I just love hearing that, because it's like, man, imagine if you had let go sooner, you know, but at the same time.
Exactly. I think about that all the time. If I had actually, because to be honest with you, I'll be truthful. Initially, when I got the word, it took me like a whole year, and I'll be straight up. It took me a whole year to really step into that. But it's funny, because when God tells you to do something, the more you ignore it, the louder the noise gets. And then the noise got louder, and the voice got louder, and it got louder to the point where I was like, okay, I can't even ignore it. I'm like, okay, I will do it. You know, like, so it took me a while. If I'm honest, it took me a while. And that's what I try to tell people too, like, don't waste time. Because can you imagine if I had actually done what he told me to do earlier, then, you know, so if you hear a word, just be obedient to it, walk in it, trust, and just don't look back. And trust. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, we think that we know what's best, but honestly, God knows what's best. And when what he gives you, it's like this. What I was trying to hold on to pales in comparison.
Girl, can you get a clap?
It's like, I can't believe I was pressed. Like, you know, it's like when you look back on that ex, you're like, wow, like, I was actually crying over you. Like, you know, you just like, I was far gone. Like, I just was mentally not there.
Blacked out for 10 years, but okay.
But it's just like, why, you know? And same thing, I've shared this before too, with God giving me the word to move to Atlanta. And then when you move somewhere, and a lot of times when people think that you get that nudge from the Holy Spirit or that confirmation from God to move somewhere, they think it's just going to be peaches and cream and rainbows and butterflies and just hunky-dory. And it's like, nah, like, sometimes you are going upstream, which means you're going to have a lot of opposition. You're going to have a lot of things coming against you before that life that is your, you know, part of your purpose or your promise comes to pass. And when we moved here, I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, it's going to be great. And we're homeless for almost 2 months. And I'm like, this is looking quite raggedy. This is not what I expect. I could have been in Virginia in my, you know, city with my people in my home. And you told me to come here for this. But at the end of the day, so many great things have come from that, so much growth. Like, I am not the same woman I was. So that is definitely a word. And then the part where you talked about having self-doubt as a creator and sharing your faith and your perspective and stuff, that's something that to this day I still struggle with. I was literally in Bible study last night feeling inadequate in certain things, because it's just like, you look around, like you said, and you're like, man, like, this person is so powerful when they speak, or this person is so talented with this, or this person just has like an anointing that you can't even like shun or turn away from, like, you know, or whatever. Like, their skills are just insurmountable, it seems like. And then you look at yourself and you're just like, because we know all our flaws, we know ourselves. It's like, well, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I don't have this, I don't have that. And so that's self-doubt.
And that's what can I just say, before this video, I literally was telling you, I was like, I'm so proud of you, because I look at you and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, when I listen to you, I'm so engaged when I hear you talk, and I need to give you a round of applause, because I'm just so proud of like what you're doing and how you're impacting women and just the community that you're building. And it's literally helped me in many ways that you might not even know. And sometimes we don't get the opportunity to share with other people, like, congratulations or good job, you know? So I'm saying good job to you, you know, be proud of what you're doing. It's impacting people, it's helping people, it's helped me, right? So thank you.
Oh, thank you, sis. I really appreciate that. Like, honestly, and I'm never above a thank you. It's never gonna get familiar to me, because I'm even shocked that I'm doing what I do. And it's easy to compare, you know, because I'm alongside some amazing women who are doing amazing things. I was just like, man, like, I'm just but hearing that, it's definitely confirmation, because that's my goal. I want to impact a generation of women, and I want to be that voice that says the uncomfortable truths, has the transformative conversations, you know, like, actually pierces deep, so that change and unity can come about, and where I can create a community where it is welcoming, regardless of where your stance is. You can come, you can get information, you can get wholeness, healing, all that good stuff. So that's my goal here. And that's
Girl, you're doing it, because I've had some moments where I've watched some of your stuff and I'm like bawling. I'm like, girl, I'm feeling it. So it is doing what you want it to do. Trust me, people might not say it often enough to you, but I can say for myself, like I've had times where I'm like, girl, teardrops. I'm like, yeah, girl, I feel that. I know what that's like. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. Y'all give this video a thumbs up and share it out. Tara, everybody's clapping. We appreciate y'all. So what is one piece of advice you'd give a woman struggling with self-doubt in herself and her desires in life? Because sometimes this is another aspect too. You can have a desire and you're like, that's not going to come to pass. So like bringing it back to what you said about your ex, where you know you desire something better, you know there's something better out there, but you have self-doubt where it's like, maybe it's not going to happen. You know, I've been here for 10 years. So what would you give a woman in that position where she's like, maybe this is as good as it's going to get and the desires of my heart are not going to come to pass? Like it doesn't get better than this.
To be honest with you, and I know this is gonna seem super cliche, but this is a really important skill set and a really important thing that I'm learning over time with like my faith. Ask God before you make any moves or you're trying to make a decision. If you really want to know what to do in a scenario, seek him and literally ask God, like, what it is that you want me to do. Like, for example, I remember one, and here's the thing, people who are, I guess, how do I word this? I guess for people who are not of faith, this might be a little bit hard for them to understand or comprehend, or they might just think it's coincidental. But for example, I had a situation of something happening at work. I didn't know how to deal with it or the individual. And I literally said to God, like, I prayed and I was like, God, I need you to show me what I need to do in this situation. I needed an answer. I needed to know if I should proceed with something or if I shouldn't proceed with it. I kid you not. I prayed, went up to my room, opened my Bible, and literally the words just like leaped off of like the Bible to say, like, go ahead. You know what I mean? So wow. Ask God and he will show you, but you have to like, it has to be with intentionality and belief that when you actually ask him something, he's going to give you an answer to that. So that would be my one thing is like, whatever it is that you're doing, seek his counsel, pray about it, and literally wait for that answer. And trust me, if you ask for it, he's gonna give it to you. Just your senses have to be like on alert, you know, because I think sometimes people are like, well, I asked and nothing happened, but are you creating the space for God to really speak to you? You know what I mean? Because for me, I find that God speaks to me the most when I'm just like in that place where for me, like at nighttime, I'll pray and I'll like worship. And that's when I find that God speaks to me. So you have to find, how does God speak to you? You got to create that environment for you to be able to hear him, right? Because you can ask for things and you're like, well, why isn't he answering? But are you in the stillness enough to hear him? Are you in that place enough to hear him? You know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense, hopefully.
No, absolutely. Like, I definitely get it. And this is why, one of the reasons why I also am such a huge advocate of fasting, because it's like that, it really heightens that awareness. Because when you're not eating, like, you're like, I hear you, Lord. Is that you?
That's so true.
Because I'm just like, in April.
I'm laughing because like I can relate to that. You're like, oh, I heard that.
Something about taking away that food.
Right?
It's like, oh, yeah, I'm right there with you, Lord. But it's like, even when you cut out other habits. So like for the month of April, I'm challenging my mailing list to a financial challenge where we don't spend unless it's necessary. So no eating out, even like Starbucks or in Canada, Tim Hortons and all. None of that. No 7-Eleven, like nothing, just bare necessities. And I'm already like, I can already feel the pruning happening before tomorrow begins. Because I'm
my skin's like crawling. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what?
And so I'm just like, okay, I already feel it, but it creates that heightened sense of like
Yeah.
awareness, and that obedience and that sacrifice hand in hand, it just goes a far way. And another thing too is like sometimes we believe so much for other people, but we don't believe for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like it can be so easy for you to be like that. That's something that is me all day. Like when it comes to other people's lives, I'm pretty much prophetic. Like I be speaking things, and I'm not even trying to sound high and mighty, but I'll be speaking things into people's lives. I'll be like, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and da 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 da, and it be happening. It be happening. Like I've spoken marriages for my friends, I've spoken businesses, all of these type of things. But then when it comes to me, it's like that again, because I'm living my life, I'm in my shoes. I have to have that different level of patience. And so it can be very easy to believe for other people, but when it comes to you, it's a whole nother ball game, and it's that mental battle that you're dealing with. So yeah, that's really good as far as what you said about like really believing it. Like, are you asking it and believing it, just saying you believe it just to say it, or do you honestly really believe like, nah, this is gonna happen? Like,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah, like I asked for God to reveal it to me, so I know I'm going to get the answer. I'm waiting for you to deliver that to me, you know? Like, you just kind of have to go into it in that mentality. In regards to the word faith, faith is believing in what you can't see, right? So just trusting, like, no, if I ask something, he's going to let me know what I need to do before I make that step. So that's how and like, again, for me, a lot of the things, it's like, it sounds so simple and basic, and you're like, of course you do that, but do you really do that? So for me, it's like, for these years, I've really just been trying to exercise it to like the 10th degree. Like if you say this is your word, I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna believe it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Tara said, Dell, you've saved me too. Both you and Yasmin have saved my life. That is an honor. Like, I'm just so grateful to hear that. I can't even take the credit. That's all God working through me, because who would have thought? Like, I didn't even want to share a lot of the stuff that I share, but that's just my personality. Like once I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna be like, well, here I am. So so I'm glad to hear that. Yes, fasting is one of my favorite tools. Like anytime I need to get myself together quickly, I do a quick fast. Like it definitely pulls me together. The challenge is going to be challenging. I know. And in the email, I said no Starbucks for you, Michelle, because I know I know she's a Starbucks girl. So I was like, that includes Starbucks. You'll see it in the email tomorrow. There are many times I've asked God, and He showed me with His words or through other people. Yes, like God shows me through repetition, and it's always through a medium, like whether that's through radio, TV, a sermon, whatever. But that thing will keep coming up, and I'm just like, okay, I hear you. You know, I get the message.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at eating out and making snack. But I know, like, sis, that's why I feel the pruning already. I was driving home for this live, and I was like, "Ooh, I should stop again." And I was like, "No, we're doing the challenge tomorrow."
I'm like, "What? I can't hear a challenge. What? I didn't hear anything."
Yes, a whole financial challenge, but I am excited because I spend way too much eating out. Like it's ridiculous. So.
I literally looked at my bill, actually my my what do you call it, my debit card, and I was like, all I saw was food places. I'm like, this is really bad. Like it's so bad, honestly. It's really sickening how much money we spend on like food, right?
Yeah, and you have nothing to show for it. Like every year I do my taxes.
Oh God.
Every year I do my taxes, and I'm just like, what? I spent all of that on food.
Yeah,
and it's like if that would have been a good, down payment on a car, like
right. I know. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm like,
Michelle said, Saturday I was thinking about my coffee for that drive. I better not see a coffee cup in your car, sis. When we pull up to the park, we're meeting for a play date with our sons. So manifestation, this is like, I got 3 more questions after this, I think. So as we know, manifestation is a hot topic. Like everyone's manifesting this, manifesting that. I manifested the house. I manifested so to me, I feel like there are levels to this, and there's so many different types of angles that people approach manifestation from. So as a woman of faith like yourself, how would you define manifestation? Do you believe that people that claim Christianity should be manifest? Like, should we use the word? Because I know some people are like, no, we don't manifest. So do you think that we should use it? How do you define it? And how can we make sure that we use it in a way where we don't place more hope in our ability and not God?
So the way that I kind of look at it is that for me, I find it interesting how I guess the world, I don't know if you've ever looked at it in this sense. I find it interesting how people do certain things supposedly in the world, but it's literally still connected to God, but they call it something different. So when I think of manifestation, it's basically believing in something that's not yet tangible that you're hoping for. But is that not faith? Right? So for me, I think that I connect it to faith. It's like God created the world with his mouth, with speaking words, right? So it's like with manifestation, you're basically doing the same thing. You're creating and speaking things that you would like to see into existence, right? So I just find it weird that it's like, yes, it's a word created for people, I guess maybe they would say, of non-faith, but it is still faith, right? Because right, so that's how I see it, in a sense, if that makes any sense. But I do think that anything that you're desiring, you got to speak it into existence, you got to speak it into life, and you have to, I'm not saying that it needs to be like a primal focus of your life, but if you want anything, you got to claim it and you got to release it, right? So therefore, I don't think that there's anything wrong with manifestation in that regards, if that makes sense, because to me it's connected to God and to faith, if that makes any sense. Hopefully I'm articulating that properly.
No, I get it. I get it. So I definitely get it. So for me, I would say I agree with you. Honestly, I would say I agree. I feel like the one thing that I don't like about excuse me, manifestation, whether people call it manifestation or not, is when we place so much power on our words where we make it seem like you didn't say it enough or you said the wrong thing. So prime example where people, for instance, say life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so they might say, okay, someone who ended up coming to Atlanta like me and being homeless for longer than I had planned, I didn't manifest this house that I'm living in fast enough because I wasn't speaking the house up fast enough. I wasn't saying this, I wasn't saying that. Those doubts, those sentences that I said that might have been perceived as being doubtful or having some questions is what threw the manifestation off, or threw the faith off, whichever word you want to use for it. And so I think that's the only problem that I personally have with it, is when we place so much weight on our words instead of like, okay, at the end of the day, nothing can thwart God's plans. Like, what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like the manifestation and the faith is for our mental, to help us like really work out that faith. Like, because if you don't, like, your mind is going to be all over the place. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So for me, I do believe that words have power, and I think they have extreme power, because if I look into my life, I can see situations where I was like, whoa, I think I spoke that. Like, you know what I mean? But I think what I think that you're saying, or what I think I hear, is the ritual aspect of it, right? If it becomes, it's like, well, if you say this like 10 times a day, like, I don't believe in like that stuff, but I do believe in the sense that your words have power. And if you look back, well, for me in particular, if I look back on my life like 10 years ago, I'm like, what was I speaking over my life? You know what I mean? For sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, I should have been careful with what came out of these lips. You know what I mean? Because some things that I said, I can see it into my life right now. And I'm like, wow, like, so for me now, I'm so extra careful with what literally comes out of my mouth. Like, literally, if I like have to catch myself, I'm like, no, don't. I'll be careful what you say, because I do believe that your mouth is a powerful weapon, and what comes out of your mouth, it creates a world for you, right? But in regards to the ritual aspect of, like, if you're gonna say, say this 10 times or whatever, I don't believe in that stuff, but I do believe that your words do have power, right? Your words can create.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me look at these comments real quick. Dynasty Tribe said, y'all don't want to know the amount we spent on takeout, family of 8. That's hilarious. Like, I eat a lot as one, so I can only imagine that word can be annoying sometimes. It's overly used, doing the same thing, just taking God out. Oh, you're talking about the manifestation word. Yeah. Good night, ladies. I'm on the phone with hubby. Okay, no problem. Enjoy your night, sis. So yeah, I think that's the only thing, because I just feel like, particularly as believers, we have to be careful that we don't replace God's power in our lives with our own power, by thinking, again, like the rituals, like, I got to say this so many times, or, heaven forbid, I went through, or like, for instance, someone who's going through a depressive state, where, and sorry if y'all hear background noise, Christian's doing the most before bedtime. But, hopefully it's not too loud or disruptive, but it's like maybe someone going through a depressive state, you know, and so they keep thinking bad thoughts, you know, and there's chemical imbalances and stuff that go into that, which I don't want to dive into that part. But it's like, let's say that they always think like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, but their bills are always paid. So that's why I feel like it gets a little fuzzy, because it's like, okay, where do we draw the line between the power of my words and the power of God? And how does that overcome my words, if that makes sense? I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like I feel like this is something that could literally, the conversation could stem in so many different directions and it can go so far. But I definitely do hear what you're saying. It's such a touchy, not a touchy, but it's such a conversation topic that it could go in so many different routes. You know what I mean? Like, and again, in regards to the situation that you were just referring to, that in itself can carry into different stems, because I want to say stuff, but then I'm like, wait a second, but it can go here, you know what I mean? So maybe we'll save that for another time. But yeah, like it gets a little complex when it comes to that. But like I said, for me, I do believe that your words do have power in your life. I don't believe in I don't believe in the ideology of like manifestation, in that you have to do this ritual or like do this in the ritual aspect of it. But I just believe, I have faith, I trust in God. God says that we have the power to do what Jesus did on this earth, right? Therefore, you can speak life into people, you can speak healing into people. So I do believe in that power, you know, and so like
it's definitely, and I agree. I definitely think at the end of the day, it's like the power of the Holy Spirit in us, because, you know, over time, as we're in Christ, like he's going to make us, or not make us, but we're going to be transformed into desiring what he desires. So you'll find, like, I feel like over time, there's a point in our walk where our words match God's will anyway. And so he's just, the Holy Spirit's empowering us and changing us to align with that. So that way we're already aligned, and what we're speaking is just affirming what's already going to come to pass, if that makes sense. So but I agree. I wanted to touch on that, because it's like there's so many levels to it, and you know, you have people on opposite extremes that are like, it's all us, and I'm like, okay, but where does God's power come into play? And then you got the people that are like, it's all God, and it's like, but we still play a part. So it's just like, you know, and then you got the people that God's not in the picture at all, and it's just like so, you know, but yeah, it could definitely be a lot. Tara said, I look at manifestation as a form of meditation. That's interesting. I never thought of it from that angle, but some people use it as a form of worshiping other idols. That's true. Yes, don't replace God's power. Yeah, this talk is so timely for me. Thank you for the encouragement. And as long as you know where our true source comes from and acknowledge it, that's where our blessings come from. Exactly. At the end of the day. And that's also our hope too, to know, like, nothing can thwart God's plan. So, you know, ultimately he will have his way. We play a part in that, of course, through our obedience, our sacrifice, our consecration, you know, what we say, what we do, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's like, I can't mess up his entire plan for my life. And his plan is so much greater than anything that I could even think to, you know, dream about or whatever. Yeah. So that's the hope of the believer. It's like, we have that hope in knowing, like, even if I'm all jacked up, he's still going to make sure that I'm good. So that's a blessing. So continuing in the manifestation topic, how can we manifest the life that we desire? I know it's a triggering statement for some people, but how can we manifest the life that we desire? And what steps would you say we can take to create the life we love? If you don't like the word manifest, let's just say, what steps can we take to create the life we love?
So I would basically, for me, I would say, or speaking for myself, I would just say, like, you need to be in that space where you have a relationship with God, first and foremost. Like, you need to get into that space where you have that relationship, and in that relationship, you need to seek your purpose and ask God why you were placed on this earth, and what you were, like, why, you know what I mean? What is it that you were created to do? I think once you find the source of why you're here and what you were created to do, then beauty comes from that, because it's like everything else aligns with that for you, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it might be the easiest journey, because we all know that it doesn't necessarily work like that. But I think once you find once you find the alignment of like, you know, where you're supposed to be in this world, whether that's anything, whether that's being an amazing baker, an amazing speaker, or whatever the case might be, I think that your life starts to align in a certain way for you, right? Once you kind of like get into that pattern or that walk. So I would say just spend time and seek what it is that you were meant to do here, right? I wish I actually did that a lot younger. But as you go, you live and you learn, and you just try to help people who are, you know, younger than you to see, like, do the things that I didn't do. But I wish I took time in my younger state to do that, because I really didn't. Especially, I can say, in my 10-year relationship, as women, we tend to nurture and, you know, we other people, and I think I did that for that individual, but I neglected myself because I literally came out of a 10-year relationship and I was like, hold on. So I spent 10 years trying to help you figure out what you wanted, help to direct us and do this, but I'm like, what about me? Like, what do I want? Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So I just never want people, or women especially, to be in that position where it's like, we waste so much time, because I wasted a lot of time. Like, I wasted way too much time, and it's time that I will never get back, but I have now, and I'm just really trying to live that out. So I would say just really make that a priority for your life, is to just really don't waste time, and to seek God and to seek the purpose of why you were here, and walk in it fully and boldly with confidence and without fear.
Yeah, I agree. Y'all give this a thumbs up, because she's speaking right now, okay? And this is the longest I've had you on a live. So definitely give this a thumbs up. Okay. But I agree. And I love what you said about finding what you were created for, because that it's like when you're operating in purpose and you're walking along the path that God gifted you for, it will work for you. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this clip, you may or may not have, but I saw this clip yesterday of Steve Harvey talking about his barber when he first got started in comedy and stuff. His barber was first charging him $15 for a haircut. Then when he got selected for Kings of Comedy and some other stuff he was doing, and the barber was traveling with him, he was getting paid $600,
I think
$6,000 or something. Yeah, for haircuts. And then when he went bald, his barber decided to go back home. And he has a couple of barbershops in Texas and some other states or something like that. And now he makes $6 million a year just cutting hair. Like, you know, and so it's like, when that is what God created you for, you will see success. But like you said, it's not going to be a bed of roses. Like, we're going to definitely still have some work to do, some pruning, some obstacles to overcome, but you will see the fruit. And, you know, that's something that I can say now. I know I'm in my purpose. I don't know all the nooks and crannies and all that, but that's where that faith and trust in God comes into play. And I just have to keep leaning on him and seeking his face and being obedient to what he tells me to do each step along the way. Because if he told me the whole plan, then I wouldn't need faith in him. Exactly. I was like, okay, thank you. And just, you know, but every step along the way, I'm consulting him and seeking his face. And I can see where I've seen the fruit, where things have just worked for me, or opportunities have literally fallen in my lap, or, you know, what I thought was a lost opportunity came back around as a better opportunity. So what's for you is for you when you're in purpose, but you will know it. Like, and it's going to be something, I can say this for a fact, that even when you're not getting paid for it, you still love to do it. Or when you're not getting paid a lot, you still love to do it, you know. And trust me, I done seen them no pay days. So, you know, and I still showed up. So I know this is purpose. I know this is purpose. But yeah, that's amazing. And well, let's dive back into this really quick again, even though you had mentioned it. But how has manifestation helped your life? And then I'll make this a two-part question. Do you have any final bits of advice or encouragement for women who are watching this video?
I could say, I'm trying to think of like a specific scenario maybe to pull on. But I can say that maybe even my fiance, I feel like I spoke him into existence, if that makes any sense, you know, like I really, it's so funny because, like I said, I think my confidence stuff stemmed really from the lack of relationship that I had with my dad. And I didn't really know what it was to really, I didn't know what to look for in a man. You know what I mean? And I said it on some of my videos. I was out there like, okay, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's not what it is. If you don't have a good example, you have nothing to reference, right? So I was in this season of my life where I really just wanted to seek, like, what do you have for me? Like, what does that resemble? God, like, what should a real like man look like for me, type of thing. And basically God just started to like reveal things with like people that came into my life, people who were like mentors, or like, I started to watch sermons, like just different things. Sometimes you're lucky enough that you find mentors in real life. Sometimes it's people that you might see, a pastor or whatever that you might watch, or whatever the case might be. But I feel like God aligns you with certain people to show you certain things. And I feel like that's what he did. And through that, I was like, okay, so this is what it is that I should want. You know what I mean? And then I just started to say, like, and I think to an extent, maybe I didn't feel like I deserved, like certain things, or a certain type of individual. And I just started, just to say, like, I deserve to have the very best. I'm not perfect, but I know that I have a good heart, and, God created me for a purpose, and like, there's a reason why I'm here, and I deserve to be happy, and I deserve someone that has, a heart just like me. And like, because when I love hard, and I'm there, and I deserve that much, and as much as I give it, and as basic as that sounds, I think that has an impact on what comes into your world. You know what I mean? Like, what you start to allow, because my perspective in things started to change, and my thought process started to change, because I was like, no, I deserve good things. I deserve, even for a husband, I deserve a good husband. I deserve someone that is going to be there for me, because I'm going to, I give 100% of who I am, and I deserve just as much as and I don't deserve someone that's going to like, just take me for granted, or whatever the case might be. So I say all of that to say is just, it starts with your mind, it starts with your mind, just believing that you deserve good things out of this world, in this life, and it's a day-to-day battle, because I'm not going to say that even when it comes to anything, that every day is a smooth day. Every day is a day that I have to tell myself, no, that's, if you're thinking a negative thought, or whatever situation it might be, like, every day is a day that you just have to fight that battle of like self-doubt, right? But it's a fight that you have to know that you've already won, if that makes any sense, right? And just to keep stepping forward, just to walk in everything that you were meant to be, because we deserve. I look at life in this regards, because I think you said a comment too, that you always you always spread blessings on people, in regards to like, you're going to get this and you're going to do whatever, but what God does for other people, he's going to do for you too, right? So that's another thing that I had to remember. It's like, if God blesses other people, why is he not going to bless me? I'm a child of God, just like you and the other person. We all have different seasons and different times in life, but that's how I look at it. When I look at people in my life, or my friendships, I'm like, I'm so happy for people, because I'm like, what he does for them, it's a sign that it's going to happen for me too. So I'm ecstatic for people when they're glowing up, or they're doing amazing things. I'm going to clap hard for people, because I know that if God can do it for them, he's going to do it for me too. And I think that's just another mentality that we have to have. It's like, never be jealous of people, or never be, you know what I mean? Like, be thankful for people. Say, thank you, Jesus. If you did this for so-and-so, thank you that it's going to be for, my time is coming, and you just have to declare those things. And like I said, change the mindset of like the negativity. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but what I'm saying is combat it. If you have those thoughts where you think like, well, I'm not worthy, or, well, this is not going to happen. No, combat it. Say, no, I'm a child of God. God says I'm blessed and I'm favored, like, you just have to combat it. As it might sound simplistic, but it's huge, right?
Oh, yes.
Because the battle is of the spirit, and it's, so you gotta battle, like, you have to go to war.
Yes.
Because, what did I say? It's like, there's a realm out there. There's an enemy out there that does not want you to succeed. He does not want you to prosper. He wants to kill you with self-doubt and with fear. But it's like, no, you got to combat it with the word of God. And the word of God says, you are a child of God. You're prosperous. You're healthy. So you got to like combat it with like declaring those things over yourself. And that's literally what I've learned over the years, and what I'm really trying to do on a day-to-day basis. Just combat it with the word of God. Like, if if you see my room and on like my bed frames or whatever, I have like scriptures, and I just try to, you know, like when things are going on, I'm like, nope, that's not what God says. God says this, and this, you know? So yeah.
And benedictions are a great way too. There are like 26, I think, 25 or 26 at least benedictions in the Bible. One of the most popular ones is number 6, 24 through 26, which is the song, The Blessing, you know, may his favor be upon you and all that kind of stuff. But those are all examples, and various other scriptures. The Bible's full of scriptures, benedictions, whatever, that are promises of God that we can just speak over ourselves. And you know, it's for us. Like, it's not something that we're fighting for. Like you said, we already have the victory. So we're not fighting for our generations and our seed to be blessed. We're not fighting for this victory. It's already given to us when we enter his kingdom, you know, when we accept him in our lives. So we just have to repeat it and believe it, you know, and eventually you will actually believe it. So that's where that's the only part of the manifestation repetition that I would say, like, okay, yeah, like repeat it, you know, because you will actually believe it. But yeah, like I definitely agree as far as everything that you were saying, and just really believing what you're saying, that or what you're seeing, not saying, but believing that what you're seeing happening for other people can happen for you. And I had to get to that point. You know, I still have my moments where I'm like, okay, can it, will it, whatever. But I've also gotten to a place where I said this on Tuesday, where I'm like, I don't have a lofty, super detailed blueprint of my life like I used to anymore. I have the things I desire. I have the goals I would like to reach, but I'm in such a place where I'm truly in God's arms, where I'm like, wherever you're carrying me is where I'm going. Like, I'm just an open vessel at this point. And I think that that's such a liberating place to be in, because, you know, it takes away a lot of the self-doubt, at least in my experience. It takes away a lot of the anxiety of like, oh, am I going to do? Because I'm just like, wherever we going, like, where are we going today, God? Okay, cool. That's what you want me to do. That's what you want me to say. And it's really helpful to be in that place. And also, there was something else that you said that I'm trying to think about. Oh, also, we have to monitor, how you said, well, we have to monitor what we say. We also have to monitor what we let in and the environment that we foster. Because a lot of times, like, if you're surrounded by certain people and certain things, you'll find that you have more anxiety, more self-doubt, more fear, more comparison, like more discord being sown and stuff like that, versus if you're around and you're monitoring what you listen to, what you watch, the type of people you hang around, if they're uplifting, if they're encouraging and all that. It really makes a huge difference. Like, it absolutely does. So,
and I'd actually pull on that too, because, and one of the things I'd like to say is that you have to be so careful, because fear is like a doorway for the enemy to come into. And I experienced that forehand last year, where basically something happened with like a situation with a family member. I'm not going to get into it because it's obviously not to do with me, but to them. But it really took a toll on me. And then I started to fear the whole situation and whatever the case might be. And literally, when I tell you, that opens the door for the enemy to come into, because from that, it stemmed into other things. Like, I think I spoke about this on my channel, where I went through a period of time where I literally felt like I was losing myself, but that was my fault, because I gave the enemy a door front. I literally opened the door for him, right, with that situation, because I allowed my fear to play harder than I allowed the voice of God to, you know what I mean? So that's what I would say. Just be very, very careful, because fear and all of those things, it's a doorway for the enemy just to creep right into for you. So be on guard for that, right?
That is so true. So true. So Michelle said, we can't mess up his plans. Exactly. Tara said, beautiful, find what you were created for. And Tara said she also loves your voice and your personality. You're amazing, and God's hand is on you. So she's glad she made it tonight. I agree.
Thank you.
So do you have any final bits of advice or encouragement or anything that you want to give to women?
I would just say the whole purpose of Spiritually Faithful is to really seek your purpose, you know, do not neglect yourself, really figure out what it is that God created you to do on this earth and go full throttle with it, you know, and just to step over fear and to step over doubt, because it, like I said, it's something that's going to come at you consistently. And actually, funny enough, ever since I created this platform, I feel like the enemy is like, oh, so you don't fear? Oh, you don't doubt? Like, I'm going to throw that at you, right? But I just really want people to realize that we have the power to do anything that we desire to do. We just have to really trust in God. I'm not saying the journey is going to be easy, but I'm going to say that we already know the end. We already know that we're victorious and that we win. It's just a matter of you pushing through, being persistent and persevering, and just trusting that all things are going to work out for those who love the Lord. So that's what I would say. And yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm glad that I have you and I kept you for more than an hour. Look at you.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, I spoke for an hour?
So look at God. He just made me working. But thank you for speaking tonight. And I think that you summed up a lot of great things. Ultimately, we want our confidence to be on point. We want our self-doubt and fear and all that to be checked. And until we really get to a place where we honestly can just trust that God's promises will come to pass. Mm-hmm. He hasn't forgotten us. You know, we can't mess it up. Nobody can mess it up. What's for us is for us, and he will continuously help us to grow. And we just have to play our part in, like I said, being obedient and seeking his face and doing whatever he tells us to do. Then you can truly become that girl once you accomplish those things. But, you know, it's deeper than just having a certain car and living in a penthouse. And, you know, like we got to get our insides right. Because if the inside ain't right, the outside doesn't matter what the outside's looking like. You know? So I'm glad that you came, sis. I'm going to give you a minute or two to just go ahead and plug all your stuff, what you want people to purchase, support, check out, anything. Feel free to throw it out there.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. I'm on Instagram at Spiritually Faithful. And also I have a YouTube channel, which is Kadipop Secretz. To be honest with you, I'm on a little bit of a break right now, but I will be back. Sometimes, as we all know, like social media is a lot. So I think it's super healthy sometimes to have that break, which I'm on right now. And I have just a bunch of things happening in the background, which eventually I will share. But again, you can reach me at Spiritually Faithful or on Kadipop Secretz on YouTube. So thank you again for having me. I truly appreciate it. And this was just an awesome conversation. So thank you.
No problem. And before I let you go, will we get a husband reveal when that when the nuptials are exchanged?
I will. Eventually.
No rush. Just wondering if we'll see who the lucky guy is.
Eventually. If he's willing to, yes.
I would love to meet him virtually and hear you guys' story because he's blessed to have you.
Oh, so. It's a powerful one too. It's a powerful one.
I can't wait to hear it one day, sis. So thanks again for joining. Like I said, y'all, check out the description box for everything. I'm gonna let you go ahead and go, and I'm gonna wrap up. But
thank you. Bye, guys.
No problem. Have a good night, sis.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So as you can see, that was the live. It was really, really great. I had a great time, great discussion. There were so many things that we could have, taken a deeper dive into. But like I said, it won't be her last time on the channel. So with that being said, thank you guys for hanging in here. Of course, if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. And please share this with some of your girlfriends on your social media pages. The more you share, the more it helps this kind of messaging get out. That's encouraging, uplifting, transformative. That's the goal here. Like I had stated earlier, is to really just help people have those transformations, have healing, have honest, raw conversations, and, get to a place of wholeness. So love you guys. Next Tuesday starts our next series and all that. Like I had mentioned on Tuesday, I'll be going live a lot more going forward until the foreseeable future. So join me Tuesday for our Bible study, at the beginning. Thursday. It'll be Thursday, or maybe it'll be Tuesday. I don't know. But either way, we're going to do a Bible study next week. And because Easter is April, I want to dive into the gospel. It might be a 2-part thing. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Tuesday and Thursday. We'll see. But join me back here Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And of course, next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Y'all have a great weekend. Be safe. Enjoy time with your loved ones. And I will see you on the internet. Bye.